Okay, so with this episode of Space Dandy, my theory crafting is coming back in full force, okay? At the end of Season 1, I talked about the different dimensions, the different ways Dandy dies, how he comes back, the to be continued, the end sections at the end of every episode. I talked about that a lot. With this episode, once again, a little bit more mysteries are unveiled to us, okay? There's a lot of mystery in this episode, and it really opens our eyes to a lot of things, actually, as a whole, in Space Dandy. Space Dandy's past is revealed. He once had an ex called Catherine. Now, Catherine is in this fourth dimensional world. We technically don't get to see the fourth dimensional world, but from what we can see is the entire box with her heart, she looks definitely a lot different than what she looks like an appearance in this episode. Because she's a fourth dimensional being, she can't really show her true form in the episode. For instance, she can't show herself in the three-dimensional world. And Dandy, I think, realizes this. Now, the big thing that pops up in this episode is the dialogue at the end of the episode. You have Catherine completely state that the Dandy she fell in love with is no longer the Dandy that is with us at the moment, because every time you warp, even though you're warping to another section, you're not just, going to, like, a section in the same dimension. You're actually traveling through dimensions, and you're going into that, like, other, body. For instance, let's say, I was to move over here, teleport right next to me, okay? Or teleport, warp way over there in my room. And I was to do that, that would technically be another dimension, but my mind would think, like, I just teleporters. I don't know how it works. It's really fucking confusing. I'm just gonna be honest. I know how it works. I just can't go into too much details of it because it's just like so fucking confusing to explain. But pretty much, you're not aware that you're changing bodies pretty much. Your mind is changing. You're moving to point A to point B into different dimensions. And so, technically, the Dandies that, constantly warp all the time, they're not the same Dandy. So, yeah, that is really interesting. So, it proves every time that Dandy warps in the series, he's going to another dimension. And Space Dandy, once again, always uses dimensions, time travel, something different with different multiverses or different stuff like that. Space Dandy always has shit like that. And almost every single episode, it has something like that. And once again, it goes to show that there is some form or meaning behind each individual event of each episode. Because it's not a coincidence that Space Dandy has episodes centered and focused around, like, time constantly repeating itself, to dimensions, to Dandy being stuck in limbo, to, Dandy destroying an entire universe, just different stuff like that, or Dandy being plutonium, or Dandy being the fabled Pionium, stuff like that. So, I know for a fact all this stuff is just not random coincidences. I still believe there's some big meaning here, because this Season 2, this section of this half of Space Dandy Season 2, has unveiled a lot of information. It has unveiled a lot of different secrets, and it's fleshed out Honey as a character, Dandy as a character, Meows as a character has been fleshed out a little bit. I mean, we've had, the Jicro Empire and the Gogo Empire kind of fleshed out a lot more in Season 2, so really, I know there's going to be something big here. I don't think there is actually a specific episode count for Space Dandy Season 2. For instance, there is no announced, episode count. Like, usually at this time, a series would have an announced episode count, like it's only going to last 12 episodes, 11 episodes, or 24 episodes. But for some reason, so far, there doesn't seem to be a number for Space Dandy Season 2. I don't know. So, if anyone else knows the actual amount of episodes that Space Dandy Season 2 is going to have, please let me know in the comments below. I'm curious about that, because if, the next episode was the final, it would have said it was the final episode, but it's not. The next episode, if I'm correct, is episode 12, and so, big question, big question. I mean, how many episodes is Space Dandy Season 2 going to get? Because it has gotten a lot more serious since, episode 5 or 6. It has gotten very deep and serious, and I wonder exactly what path Space Dandy is going to take next. Now, the big thing I want to talk about real quick is that Catherine's appearance is as a box, okay? Now, let's think about the two-dimensional dimension real quick. In the two-dimensional dimension, when you saw that, the cannon or whatever that was, causing the two-dimensional universe to come into the third-dimensional universe, well, it was shaped as a box. Remember, they had to destroy this box in the 2D universe. Well, what is the shape of Catherine? A box. Now, think about this real quick. What was in that box in a two-dimensional universe? What was in it? first dimensional universe. So, what is in that box that Catherine is in? The fourth dimensional universe. So, there's very odd coincidences, like correlations between those two things in this episode I noticed. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but there's big connections between the box of, Catherine and that box in the two-dimensional space. I keyed in on that instantly when I heard them talking about the two-dimensional space. I was like, that's fucking confusing. Now, the episode's animation was really solid and good, and it looked great. It looked really fucking great. The art style looked great, and I love the two-dimensional look in this episode. It really added a different theme and feel to the series, and it gave it a new, different life to it. Once again, Space Dandy does a good job with adding in different art styles with its series, and it does that phenomenal look with its new animation and art style. So, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How did you feel about this week's episode of Space Dandy? Do you feel like there's some deeper meaning behind all the dimensions and time travel and shit? Or do you think it's just there just to be there? Let me know in the comments below. I love all of you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.